it's Nina. Thanks so much for joining me today for a new tutorial, and I'm so excited to be featuring some of the newest products from Lawn Fawn. I'm going to show you how to create this adorable and super colorful cloud scene that features the brand new Puffy Cloud backdrop die set and the Unicorn Picnic stamp set. During the video, I'll also show you how I cut a fun window out of the backdrop. We're going to start by stamping the images from the Unicorn Picnic stamp set onto Nina white cardstock. I'm using Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink to stamp the images, and then I'll clean that with the Simon Says Stamp cleaner to get my images super scrubbed clean. Next, I'm going to color the images with some Copic markers. I used some simple shading for these images because they're fairly small, so I didn't want to get too detailed. And I used a slightly more muted rainbow color scheme for the hair on the unicorns. I love these muted colors, and I have all of them listed down in the video description or over on the blog. As I'm coloring, I'm making sure to color each section of the tail and the mane with a different color. I also added a little bit of shading to the unicorns themselves. Even though they are white, a little bit of gray shading gives them a little bit of dimension. Next, I'll set those aside and work on die cutting. I've cut the Puffy Cloud backdrop from some white cardstock, and I'm using a circle die to cut out a circle into the middle of that Puffy Cloud backdrop. Now, this background is unique because each cloud is partially cut out, and that is really fun because it allows you to tuck things into the clouds, or in this case, I'm going to color each cloud an individual color, and this is super simple. I took a piece of cardstock and I cut it to be about the same size as the space in between each of the clouds. And then I'm sliding that cardstock in between each of the cloud sections to color each one a different color of Distress Oxide ink. I'm using blending brushes to add the color down, and this is creating a super unique rainbow effect. It adds to the magical finish of this card. And I love the color scheme. It's very pastel and muted, and I think it really goes well with these unicorns. I took a stitched frame die and laid that over top of the Puffy Cloud backdrop and trimmed off any excess that was hanging out the edges. And I'll use the coordinating dies to cut out the unicorns. I wanted these clouds to be sparkly because, of course, this is a magical unicorn scene, so we have to have some glitter in here. I used glossy accents to add glitter to the tops of each of these clouds. And then I'm going to take the Lawn Fawn chunky glitter and sprinkle that over top each of those glue areas. I'll knock off the excess because it's going to stick around to the different areas, and then I'll set that aside to dry. After it dried, I added the unicorns onto my clouds, and I'm tucking them in between each section. This is giving the look of a lot of dimension when you have them tucked in here. There are some fairies in the picnic set, so I added those too. And now we're ready to assemble this. Because I have a window cut into my Puffy Cloud backdrop, I also need a window cut out of my card base. So I used a negative of that circle, and I'm going to hold that in place where the circle lines up from my Puffy Cloud backdrop. Then I'll tape that in place and remove that little negative, that's just a placeholder, and I'll line my patterned paper up with my card base, and that will go running through my die cut machine so that I have a window now cut from the patterned paper and also the card base, and they line up perfectly with the circle on the Puffy Cloud backdrop. And that's all from the aid of that little negative that we placed inside of our Puffy Cloud backdrop when lining things up. I'll layer my Puffy Cloud backdrop onto my card base using a little bit of foam tape for some nice dimension. And now we're ready to add just a little bit more embellishment. And since we have such a colorful scheme going on here, I thought we could only accent that more by adding some sequins in some fun rainbow colors. So I pulled out Simon Says Stamp's Rainbow Party sequin mix, and I added those around the unicorns, and I stamped a sentiment on the inside of the card. I love how these unicorns look like they are floating around in a very beautiful magical scene, and I think this is such a fun way to be able to use this Puffy Cloud backdrop to create some colorful sections and then tuck your fun unicorns inside the clouds. I hope that today's video inspired you to use these new products from Lawn Fawn. If you would like to see more weekly inspiration, be sure to subscribe to our channel, and you can also stop by the blog to get more information on today's project. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I will be back again soon with more to share. Bye!